You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, it's your host, Chris DeMakes. Do you know that I write custom songs? Well, here's a bit of my work.
I can write you a ska song or maybe a punk song, I wanna write you a punk song, I wanna write you a mid-tempo rock song, something you can sing along or scream.
Dance, on the dance floor, we can shake it all night.
I lost my job, my tractor died, my wife took off with another man. Guess who back with the postmodern rap? Chillin' with the homies, ain't taking no crap.
Actually, you don't want to hear me rap. Pick any other style. Trust me.
I could even write a ballad for your anniversary or your birthday.
Looking for a voiceover, jingle, or music for your business, podcast, or TV show? Well, look no further. I'm your guy.
I can write children's songs. I wanna write your kids a song.
For more info, email me at chrisdemakes@gmail.com. Now let's get into this awesome episode. Hey everybody, today's guest is Josh Todd, lead vocalist for the Los Angeles, California rock band Buckcherry. Josh and I take a nosedive straight into their breakout smash hit, Crazy Bitch, taken from their 2006 album, 15. And yet another feel-good story here on Krista Makes a Podcast. We talk about how the band went back to basics after being dropped by DreamWorks Records after 2 albums, and decided to make a record on their own in hopes of securing another label deal. And it worked. Initially, the band was going to lead with a different single to promote the record, just stopping short of that when their fans voiced their opinions loudly through the band's MySpace page that Crazy Bitch should be the lead-off track. Josh recalls listening to a lot of hip-hop around this time and how that bled into the overall lyrical content and vibe. And I filled Josh in on a number of crazy coincidences, how both Buckcherry and Less Than Jake's paths were simultaneously crossing during the making of this record. For all this and much more, sit back and turn it up loud.
Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast.
All right, Josh, how's it going?
Hey man, it's going great. You know, we got a great new record about to drop here June 25th, Hellbound. It's so good. And touring first show is June 1st in Kansas City. So I leave on Monday and just getting ready. I actually just sang a full headlining set before I got on with you. I got up early.
Well, you don't sound too hoarse, man. Good for you.
No. I don't get hoarse. Yeah, that's
right on, right.
Yeah, so I'm excited, man. We just dropped the title track on Wednesday, and the video, Hellbound, it's getting a great response, and just got added to a Spotify playlist I just saw earlier here, and just rolling.
Well, congratulations. Yeah, I saw the video. It's killer. You know, for the listeners, I want to give a little bit of history here, and it's crazy. I don't even know how much of this you're aware of, Josh, but our paths have kind of crossed over the years in the weirdest of ways. I was living in Atlanta in 1999, and Lit Up was just blowing up on 99X, and I remember hearing it for the first time, and I remember saying...
That was a very special time.
Yeah, I remember saying, who the hell is this? It had that sleazy 70s, 80s hard rock thing, but it didn't sound dated, but it was totally different than what was happening at radio at that time. It sounded fresh to me, and I'm a metal hard rock kid, man from the 80s, and it spoke to me. I loved it. Found out that Steve Jones from the Pistols produced it. It had this, just this punky feeling to it, and I love the track and love the whole record. I was just a fan from the get-go. That record, of course, was on DreamWorks. Your second album dropped, Time Bomb. I loved that record as well.
I do too.
Just my opinion. I felt the lead-off single, to me, wasn't my favorite. I probably would have let off maybe with the title track or Porno Star. It was one of those records that or things that just happened. It just didn't evidently perform as well in the charts, but you guys were still out there. You toured with AC/DC for that record. And then the band took a hiatus, broke up, so to speak. And in 2003, Joshua released your first solo record called You Made Me.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, 2 years later, you and the lead guitarist of Buckcherry at the time, Keith Nelson, reformed Buckcherry. And in the fall of 2005, Less Than Jake was out in California with Howard Benson recording our record called In With the Out Crowd.
Right.
And Mike Plotnikoff was the engineer.
Right.
And Keith Nelson, the guitarist for Buckcherry at the time, was the guitar technician in the studio.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, he basically was tuning the guitars, putting guitar strings on, setting them up. He'd hand you the guitar in tune, you'd play. So Keith was there doing that. And during this, him and Mike, they would always be talking. And you know, I didn't take too long to figure out that while this was going on the weekends and after hours from our session, you guys were recording 15, which Crazy Bitch was on.
I think we were accumulating some demos at that time. And, you know, we wrote a bunch of demos before we took our hiatus, you know. It's not like we planned that. It was like 3 of the members had quit, you know, at different moments of time after the Time Bomb tour, during the Time Bomb tour too, right. You know, and it was Keith and I just sitting in a rehearsal room figuring out the next thing. And we were just writing songs, you know, we were just working on demos and stuff. And then a lot of stuff happened during that time. But that was one of his gigs. I had a gig. I was working out in the valley, building like airplanes for airplane sets, movie sets, just doing crazy stuff. Yeah. And then, you know, we just kind of rekindled, you know, we had this unfinished business, which was Buckcherry, you know, and finally kind of reconnected over some, you know, personal stuff in our lives. Keith and I did. And that's when we started working really hard on 15.
Well, that's awesome because, you know, not many bands, and my band is one of them. We actually had 2 major label deals, which I still pinch myself sometimes think about. So it's really funny because, you know, very few bands even get one major label deal. And here you guys are. And from my understanding, when these songs were being written during that time period, you were without a deal at this point. You shopped the record when it was done. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. It was a crazy time. Nobody would sign us in the States. Everybody told us we were, I don't know, has-beens, or, you know, that was it. And you wouldn't, and, you know, that's why we called the record 15, because we had a very small budget. We got a small record deal in Japan, and we made the record with that money. In 15 days, we recorded it. Yeah, it was really back to the basics. It wasn't like, we just had to completely believe in ourselves. And, you know, Buckcherry was still the black sheep of rock music at that point. We have never been part of mainstream rock since 1999, 22 years. And it's amazing that we're kind of just a traditional hard rock band, but we've never been a part of the mainstream rock our whole career, you know, and it just happened again with 15.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was alluding to at the top when I was talking about this song coming. The musical landscape in 99, you guys, nothing sounded like what you guys were doing. And the fact that you were getting sandwiched between Limp Bizkit and Creed was it was awesome to me. You know, I thought it was kind of the coolest thing.
Agreed.
But a couple more things here before we get into the song. You know, another part of our history, of course, is my good friend Kelly Lemieux, bass player. He now he's been with you guys for probably, I'm going to go on a limb here and say 6 or 7 years now.
Man,
5, 6 years?
There's got to be more than 7 years now.
Is it more than that now?
Yeah, you know, Kelly is just a lovely human being and such an amazing bass player and such a student of rock. You know, he's very passionate about rock music and rock history, and he knows a lot more than I do. You know, he's always reading books on you know, music stories, and he's a real joy and just a wonderful person. You know, I'm an Aries, he's an Aries. We get along really well. We have the same likes, and yeah, just a great guy. And you know, that's awesome. He was always in the mix. You know, when I first got up to LA, he was in Goldfinger, but there was a band before that. I forget the band, but anyway.
How I met Kelly, he was in 22 Jacks.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in a few bands, but anyways, he was in Goldfinger as well, and so we all knew the kind of the same kind of people in LA and stuff. So I'd bumped into him a few times before he was ever in the band, you know, so it was cool to finally have him in the band.
Yeah, you know, I met him when he was playing with 22 Jacks. Of course, he went on to Goldfinger, so known Kelly forever, and yeah, it's just again part of that history that both bands have crossed. One last thing before we jump in the song that I found very interesting. You know, again, you recorded this song, and I'm assuming the label you're speaking of was Universal Japan. They're the ones that gave you the advance, to make the record.
They gave us the advance,
okay.
And then we got a distribution deal through Atlantic in the States, but Atlantic had this upstreaming clause if they ever wanted to use it, but they wouldn't sign us. And then, you know, it was during the time, at that point in time, it was MySpace was going on, right? And we were all ready to go with the first single, which was going to be Next to You, right? And we were about to make a video, and then we're like checking out our MySpace, and Crazy Bitch is like getting crazy amount of listens, right? And we're like, oh my God, there's like almost 1 million listens of this song. And then radio stations in the States started editing it and putting it on the radio without us even asking them. And so we were like, we better jump on this song. You know, this thing's going, you know?
Well, you kind of just answered my question, because when I was reviewing and studying for this, I noticed that the song, it was buried number 7 on the record.
Yeah.
Typically your hit single isn't number 7. So in your guys' mind, you weren't thinking this was a radio hit or was anything?
No, we just thought it would be a great, live song for our core audience would really like it. And that was it. Didn't think much else of it. You know, we've been sitting on that song for a long time too. It was just, you know, after the Time Bomb tour, when everybody left, it was just, Keith and I writing demos. And that's when we wrote, you know, kind of the skeleton of Crazy Bitch. You know, we hadn't completely finished it, but, it was all kind of there. And I remember, I won't name names, but we played it for a really well-known producer back then, and he listened to it and he's like, it's a good song, but it'll never get on the radio. You're gonna have to change the lyrics. And I was like, fuck that. That's like the whole song. That's the whole hook. I don't want to, you know. And so almost never made a record because we just were like, whatever, we'll just write more songs, you know. And then we revisited it during the 15 songwriting session, and we kind of finished the song. We put like a midsection to it, and then, you know, the rest is history. It's like had this crazy long, I think it's at like 4 million or 3 million streams right now, or, you know, it's insane.
No, I mean, just the YouTube video alone for the official video is at 56 million plays. I mean, it's incredible. And I remember when this song came out, you could not escape it. It was the biggest song of 2006. It was absolutely everywhere. And I love a great success story.
Yeah.
And I just love a feel-good story. And this is one of those. I mean, here you guys, you just kept plugging along. Hey, we're guys in a rock band. This is what we do. We write rock songs, and we're doing what we do. We're not going to change for anybody. We're not going to listen to this producer who's, you know, thinks he knows everything. And also what I love, and it's been a running theme, you know, I'm over a year now of doing this podcast. So 50 plus episodes. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard, yeah, this was just kind of another track on the record. You know, yep. That ended up, you're not thinking about it too much. You're not overanalyzing it. It ends up being this massive thing.
Sometimes you just don't know. But, you know, I know one thing. We were really aligned as a band, our team, you know, our manager, our band, the band. We were really aligned. It was like either this is gonna, you know, like get rich or die trying. You know, that was kind of the feeling at that time. It was like, we're just going to do what we know we can do. And we did it. And we just kind of left it all up to the universe to figure it out, because everything about 15 said this is going to be a disaster, because here we are, we started all backwards. We got the deal in Japan. We made the record. And then, you know, everybody said we were has-beens. We couldn't sell rock records, and Crazy Bitch happens, and Atlantic, exercises their upstreaming clause, and they want us. And then Sorry happens, and so on and so forth. And here we are, 2.5 million records later.
No, it's incredible. And just now, I didn't read anywhere that Atlantic was involved. Was Atlantic involved at all with 11/7 Music?
No, 11/7 11/7 started that label to put out 15, and they had the partnership with Atlantic.
Well, I got to be honest with you here. I always go through lyric by lyric in the song. I'm going to do that again today. As we get in and break this one down, but it's going to take everything in me maybe to keep a straight face with some of these lyrics, as they're very verbatim.
Sure.
And it's always funny. It's always funny to see the artist as I'm reciting their lyrics. They rarely, as an artist, have ever had their lyrics talked back to them. So this is going to be a fun one.
Let's hear it. Give it to me.
Crazy Bitch is 3 minutes and 23 seconds. It's a perfect length of time for a radio track. There's a 12-second intro on this one. At the 10-second mark of the song, there is a descending guitar riff that becomes a running theme throughout the song, particularly in the bridge and the end of the song. It's just killer, and it's just so catchy, and it's got this I don't know, this 70s Aerosmith vibe to me, man. It's just killer. It starts out the track on this 12-second intro. It's just 2 hits on the snare drum, and Josh gives a hearty "all right." And 12 seconds in, you're into the song, and we're gonna break down. I'm gonna have you break down these lyrics of verse 1 here. It's "Break me down, you got a lovely face. We're going to your place, and now you got to freak me out. Scream so loud, getting fucking laid. You want me to stay, but I gotta make my way."
Oh fuck. Yeah. That, the whole thing behind Crazy Bitch is I was driving around in LA and and I was listening to the news, and it was right around the time where all these sex tapes were coming out, like Paris Hilton, right? And she had released a sex tape, and I just thought, it is so crazy to me how somebody can really launch their show business career off of homemade porn, really, like, or just, And then I started reminiscing about, when I was a youth, an adolescent, and when I first started having sex, and, I couldn't seem to attract a sane girl. And that was the madness of what was going on back in that time. So that's the perspective I wrote from. And I was listening to a lot of hip hop. I listened to a lot of hip hop at that time, and I wanted it to just have a hip hop flavor, over some rock chords. I wanted it to be really simple, have a lot of space. And I'm very close to my mother, and I didn't have anything to record it on. So I called her up and recorded it on her voicemail. I said, "Don't erase this. I gotta remember it."
That is awesome. That is awesome. Do you have the original tape? The original recording?
No, I wish I did.
No?
That would be great. Then I didn't think that far ahead.
And then, of course, in 2005, we just didn't have these smartphones with voice recorders. So that's we're kind of dating ourselves there. But you had to call your mom's voice machine.
Yeah, I used to have those. I used to have a little digital voice recorder. I had that for a while before iPhones, of course, and I used to use that a lot. But I didn't have it on me,
Right on. Well, the first 3 lines of this song, it just breaks down to drums, and there's this killer sleazy guitar tone with a wah pedal panned off to the left speaker.
Break me down, you got a lovely face. We're going to your place, and now you got to freak me out.
And then on the last 2 lines, bass comes in. And then a guitar is panned off to the right. It comes in with this clean, funk-sounding guitar riff.
Scream so loud, getting fucking laid. You want me to stay, but I got to.
And it just works really great with that other guitar. It's just like the perfect companion piece. And I love, again, you guys did this in 15 days. You did it with Mike Plotnikoff, and I believe, is it Paul DeCarly was the other person?
Yeah, Paul DeCarly. He's a really talented guy. I tracked all my vocals with Paul there. I really trusted him, and he's really good, and he's not talked about much in that whole saga, so it's cool that you brought his name up.
No, it's interesting because I tried to research him. I couldn't find too much about Paul. That's why I wanted to ask about him.
He's a trip. He's a Pro Tools wizard. He gets in his seat and he's got like this whole setup where it looks like he's fucking like a pilot in a plane. He goes so fast, and you should see him edit. It's insane, man. And
okay, well, guess what? Now I know who Paul is.
Yeah,
it just dawned on me. Paul was there when we made our record. He was in the other room. He'd be editing while Howard was in the.
He's like the Wizard of Oz guy. He's like Oz behind the curtain.
I can't even believe I have not thought about Paul in 15 years. I know Paul DeCarly. My gosh. Okay, yeah. That's again another cross here between bands. That's awesome. Yeah. If you're listening, Paul, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, everybody, don't you dare go anywhere. There's lots more Chris DeMakes a Podcast after these messages from our sponsors.
What's up, everybody? I am Finn McKenty, host of the Punk Rock NBA podcast, part of the Sound Talent Media Podcast Network. My podcast is all about doing what you love for a living, and every week I sit down and talk to people who have done exactly that. For example, musicians like Tommy from Between the Buried and Me, Matt from Periphery, Lil Lotus and Shinigami, among many others, photographers, artists, designers, YouTubers like Glenn Fricker and Sarah Dici, and I unpack exactly how they got to where they are today with the goal of helping you do the same. So if that sounds cool, you can listen and subscribe at soundtalentmedia.com, and I'll see you there.
And now, back to the show.
Very quickly, we're in the 32 seconds. We're in the first chorus, which is great. And this chorus is so strong, you don't get half of it. You get a double chorus right off the bat. It's too good. It's too good. You're not going to screw around.
It's very chorusy. Well, I think we had more choruses than that. I'm like, this is too chorusy, man. We gotta trim some fat, you know.
Right. Well, you're in the first chorus. I'm going to read the lyrics here. Hey, you're a crazy bitch, but you fuck so good, I'm on top of it. When I dream, I'm doing you all night. Scratches all down my back to keep me right on. Hey, you're a crazy bitch, but you fuck so good, I'm on top of it. When I dream, I'm doing you all night. Scratches all down my back to keep me right on. And on the lines, you're a crazy bitch, I'm on top of it, I'm doing you all night. On those three particular lines, there's harmonies. And do you recall who talked about putting harmonies there? Was that something you thought of? Something maybe Mike Plotnikoff came up with?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, it's been so long. It's funny when you read it, you read it like such a white boy, you know, like it's so funny to like hear it back. It's like, boy, to interpret it that way, it sounds like such a terrible song, you know, but I mean, you know, it was more about the rhythm and the soul, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard a lot of people try to sing Crazy Bitch and try to perform Crazy Bitch, and they leave all the soul out of it and the funk out of it. And that's like, then you lose the song. It's like, you got to have that swing and that groove, you know.
Hey, you're crazy bitch, but you fuck so good, I'm on top of it. When I dream, I'm doing you all night. Scratches all down my back to keep me right on. Hey, you're crazy bitch, but you fuck so good, I'm on top of it. When I dream, I'm doing
but the harmonies, I don't know. I can't even remember. I just kept singing until it was done, you know?
Right. Well, it's funny, you know, when I started this podcast, I thought of actually, should I try to sing the lyrics back to the artist? That wouldn't work either. So speaking, it's really the only way to go here, but I know it's weird, man.
I'm breaking your balls, you know, I'm just saying.
No, I know you are. They deserve to be broken, because I've had numerous artists go, this is so weird to hear my lyrics. Cause you know, verbatim like this, you're right. It might not sound like the greatest thing, but it's all about the song. It's about the delivery, and it's about how you put it together. And there's a swagger and a you know, I don't know what another word I'm looking for here. There's a swagger to this song and an energy.
Yeah, you gotta have that sex in there and the swagger and the soul, and or it doesn't work. We do a 7-minute version of that song live. It's a lot of fun.
I saw it. I've seen it. Yeah, I went and looked, and it's cool. You do a whole lead up, and really the verses into the chorus. The chorus gets heavier. It's pretty much the same progression, which again, you know, and I brought this up on this show before, the simplicity sometimes, and just this lyric, it's kind of a verbatim lyric. It doesn't take much in your psyche to have to overanalyze it and think it. And sometimes those are the best rock songs, man. Those are what resonates with people.
Yeah, simplicity is an art form, and AC/DC taught us that. You know, it's like that. I think that's what's missing in rock. There's not a lot of space. You know, there's not a lot of dynamics. There's not a lot of soul in rock music now. You know, and all the old rock, you know, they listen to the right artists. They listen to a lot of African-American artists, and that's why old rock was so great, you know?
Yeah, no, there was definitely a groove there that I feel is missing with a lot of rock bands today. Getting into the second verse right out of the first chorus. And again, right off the top here, it doesn't come in halfway, but the guitars are panned right off the top. You got that wah-wah guitar over in the left speaker. You got the funky guitar over here in the right speaker.
take it all. The paper is your game. You jump in bed with fame. Another one not painted for. You're so fine, it won't be a loss. Cashing in the rocks just to get you face to face.
And it's the lyric is take it off. The paper is your game. You jump in bed with fame. Another one night paid in full. You're so fine, it won't be a loss. Cashing in the rocks just to get you face to face.
Right.
So I'm assuming at least that first lyric, to take it off, the paper is your game, like getting in the tabloids.
The paper is your game. Money.
Money. Okay.
Paper.
Okay.
Money.
Cashing in the rocks just to get you face to face.
The rock is the diamond ring, the wedding ring.
Gotcha. Okay. On the third line here, another one night paid in full, the bass comes in on that line, on this particular verse. And after you say the word full, you do this little It's like a James Brown type of little grunt there.
Love James Brown.
Was that off the cuff, something you kept, or was that intentional? Do you remember?
I don't know. So I just riff, sometimes, and sometimes it works, and we leave it in, that's probably what was going on then,
I call them sometimes happy accents. I love when little things like that happen, and you leave them on records, and those end up being a hook that you didn't even intentionally try to make.
Yeah, like on Lit Up, you got that all right at the beginning, and I didn't really I just threw it in there, and we kept listening back. I was like, are we going to take that out, or what are we going to do? And Steve Jones really liked it, so we just kept it in, and it was like it became such a hook later on,
I've had it happen both ways, where a producer wants something and you look back years later and go, why is that in there? And other times you say, thank God he pushed me to do that, It was the right call.
Yeah, I do that a lot. I've learned so much over the years making records, and to have more of an open mind in those type of situations, and to kind of see everything through when you're working with somebody who's really great, to see their idea through, even though it feels like uncomfortable when you first start it,
Right. Something else I like about this second verse is that those guitars, again, I'm speaking about the ones that are panned left and right, they're a little more playful in this second verse. They're not as, they're a little more regimented in the first verse. I noticed when I listened to it repeated times, they're a little more playful and kind of floating around, which just kind of helps to me build the song. You get right into chorus number 2, which stop short here reading the lyrics again, but it's the same as chorus 1. It's basically another double chorus. And at this point, I want to ask, do you remember at all, from the demos you and Keith were doing, was there an evolution with the song? Was the song pretty much this structure, this arrangement?
No, it was not this arrangement. I cannot remember honestly what the original arrangement was. I just know that we had a midsection, and I know that it was really chorusy, but everybody wants the chorus. So every time we played it, they want to hear the chorus that much, So we had to do something to break it up. That's why we added a midsection and then the breakdown, but it was still a breakdown chorus. But I sang it like I was, kind of just like waking up in the morning, just to kind of break it up. I didn't sing it the same way I sang like the full rock chorus of Crazy Bitch, the breakdown chorus, where my voice was kind of cracking. And
well, in my notes here, and it's funny, earlier you had mentioned you were listening to a lot of rap at this point. This song, and I know you mentioned a couple times too that there's a lot of chorus here. This song is kind of laid out like a rap song. Rap songs are all hook.
Yeah.
They're all chorus.
Yeah, it's basically, one chord progression, wwhatever that is, and a loop, and then they build the song that way, and they just take away like something and then they put it back in. But it's like, it's amazing. I've been studying hip hop, and hip hop is getting so amazing now. Like where it started when I was a kid and where it is now, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, but I can totally, that you said that, I can, looking into this and analyzing it, it has kind of a rap quality, the way that it's laid out arrangement wise. After the second chorus, there's a lead break, and this is at the 1 minute and 35 second mark. It takes us up to the 1 minute and 47 second mark. And there's also a counter descending guitar. It's a new riff that comes in with the lead. It's just this descending, just dirty rock and roll riff. And it's got that wah pedal again with that.
Got the video.
lead break goes on till the 1 minute and 47 second mark. And then right then vocals come in. It says, get the video. Fuck you so good. Get the video. Fuck you so good.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's referring to all these videos you were seeing at the time.
Like I said, the like Paris Hilton sex tapes, the Kardashians, that type of thing.
And then the whole band breaks down. It's just vocals and drums, and it's kind of whispered. You're just saying crazy bitch, crazy bitch. You say it twice. There's this tambourine that's kind of panned off right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say crazy, and then on bitch the third time, the band comes back in with a more stripped down verse progression. The guitars pan left with the wah pedal again. The guitars pan right with that funky staccato type funky plan. And we get into, it's not, in here in my notes I put, it's not a full raging chorus, but it's kind of broke down.
Crazy bitch, crazy bitch, crazy bitch. Hey, yo, crazy bitch, but you fuck so good I'm on top of it when I dream. I'm doing you all night, sketches all down my back to keep me right on. Hey, yo, crazy bitch, but you fuck so good I'm on top of it when I dream. I'm doing you all night, sketches all down my back, come on.
Here you're getting the chorus again, but you're not getting hit over the head with it again. It's kind of what rappers do. A lot of times the progression will change. It'll be the same lyric. You're getting the hook, but you're not getting killed with the hook, if that makes sense.
Yeah, just sing it in a different way, but keep it going. And, you know, we've done that in a few songs. A lot of bands have done that. But yeah, you know, I don't know. It just happened. It happened very quickly. Like we're spending a half hour breaking down Crazy Bitch, but it was like, it happened very organically and quickly, you know, just ripped it out, you know, and the best songs do, you know, that Lit Up was like that. We wrote that in like 15 minutes, you know. I came in rehearsal and they were playing the music to that song and I just started riffing and I just wrote it, you know. And
it's so funny how that happens, but other times, other songs you'll just labor over, and sometimes you can't even get them finished for whatever reason. They don't want to come together, which is a strange thing.
Yeah, we don't really do that. We just if we're stuck on something, we'll just move on and write another song, you know, and just keep writing songs. I mean, we wrote it like for Hellbound, which drops June 25th, and we wrote 28 songs for a 10-song record, you know. So you got to be thorough in order, you know, because the cream rises to the top, you know, once you get so many songs and, you know, you want a good record from beginning to end.
Absolutely. At the end here, where the band comes back in, you got this broke down, what I'm saying, it's not a full, but it's still a full chorus, but it's broke down. And you said earlier you don't remember. I'm assuming you don't remember why here, but what I found was interesting in this breakdown part, on the second time when it comes through, on the line, "You're a crazy bitch," that's the only time there's a harmony there. I thought that was pretty cool that it was just in that one time.
I don't know, you know, but you know more than I do. I haven't.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't listened to the song, like, you know, kind of like that, dissecting it for a long time. Cause I've sang it like, you know, a few thousand times. So I don't, I don't really like to, listen to myself too much, you know. I don't go back and do that too much because when I make a record, we listen to the songs like hundreds of times. And then by the time it gets on, you know, out to the public, we're exhausted and then we got to play it live, you know, a lot. So
I feel you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the very last time here, scratches down my back, come on, the band comes in super loud again, and then you're in a bridge. "Baby girl, you want it all to be a star. You'll have to go down. Take it off, no need to talk. You're crazy, but I like the way you fuck me." And that descending guitar riff is very prominent here, again in the bridge.
Baby girl, you want it all to be a star. You have to go down. Take it off, no need to talk. You're crazy, but I like the way you fuck me. Hey, you're crazy, bitch.
Which is great because it sets up, which is now really the fourth chorus in a song. You don't get too many songs with 4 double choruses, except a lot of rap songs will do that, which is cool. And in this last chorus, the guitars are no longer staccato here. The guitars are strumming through. It's like a full downstroke strumming, which just kind of lifts this last chorus and is really cool.
You're crazy, bitch, but you fuck so good I'm on top of it when I
bass is also hammering away here at 16th notes through this part, which just, again, it lifts it. I think by this time in the song you need it. It's another double chorus. And what I love here, Josh, is at the very end, the very last line, two lines are, "You're crazy, but I like the way you fuck me," which is the end of the bridge. Very few songs will end on the bridge. You come back to that. Do you remember how that happened, or whose idea that was?
I don't really know like how I came to that at that point in time, but probably just tried a few things, and that was the one that stuck.
Well, it's I think the perfect way to end the song too, because you end the song with the word "fuck me," and it's just kind of something that just sticks in people's minds. And again, I wrote it down, that descending guitar riff, it ends the tune. You know.
I mean, have you ever been with I don't know how many, like a woman, maybe prior to, I don't know if you're married or what at this point, but like maybe when you were young, you know, and she was just, you had a lot of fun. Like it was a real strong physical attraction, but just a nightmare when it came to trying to get along as in a relationship, you know. That's kind of what it was about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I've definitely been there. Well, we're going to get wrapped up here in a second. Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. We're going to wrap up, and I know that we talked about the new record at the top. Of course, Hellbound new video is out now.
Let's go.
Anything else? You got your tour coming up?
Yeah, so Hot was the first single. We got a great video out. If your listeners haven't checked it out, check that out. And we just dropped the title track, Hellbound, and a great video to that as well. And the record's fucking amazing. I can't wait. You can pre-order it now. At all places that you buy music, you know, or go to buckcherry.com for tour updates and all that kind of stuff. And we got vinyl, we got all kinds of stuff. And first tour date kicks off June 1st, Kansas City, Missouri. And then we got 105 shows in the United States until like November. And so it's going to be a lot of fun, you know, get out to the rock show.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you down the road.
Thanks, buddy. Be good.
Hey, everybody, don't touch that dial. There's plenty more Chris DeMakes a podcast after a few words from our sponsors.
The number you have reached is 100.7 WMMS.
It wasn't just a radio station, it was a lifestyle.
Cleveland is a rock and roll city for sure.
Get down! The Wrath of the Buzzard. WMMS. Cleveland.
The rise and fall of one of the most iconic radio stations in America. Profiles, The Wrath of the Buzzard, PROH Files. Subscribe now wherever you get podcasts.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes a podcast, all you have to do is submit your song and bio to bandyoumighttnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured band is Jagged Baptist Club from Los Angeles, California. The band consists of Mitchell Blake Stokes, Morgan Ponder, Josh Boyd, and CJ Ramsey. You can find their music on all the streaming services, and here's a snippet of their song, Running on Synthetic.
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
All right, man. So that was an interesting episode.
Well, you know, as I said from the top of it, it was it's one of those things where you sometimes as a band, you either have one of two choices. You can fold your cards or you can march on. These guys got dropped by their original label, DreamWorks. The second record was looked at as a commercial failure, even though they were out on tour with AC/DC. These guys couldn't get arrested from 2003 to 2005. They basically found a deal through Japan, a small deal, recorded the record in 15 days on a shoestring budget, and the rest is history. You know, it's to have that kind of success, to be signed to two major labels, doesn't happen to many bands.
I thought it was pretty crazy that despite Buckcherry and Less Than Jake coming from such different worlds of music, that at that moment when this album was being made or written, I guess I should say, your worlds were like completely crossed, because you're working with the same exact people.
Well, no, and it's unreal, too, that I didn't realize when I put two and two together. I never knew Paul's last name, but Paul DeCarli, the other person who was credited as co-producer for the record, Paul was the other guy. He'd be in one room editing parts for In With what became of In With the Out Crowd, Less Than Jake record, while Howard was, Howard would be editing vocals and Paul would be editing drums or guitars in the other room. So it's funny how that was another piece of this puzzle I didn't even know existed until we got into it, and it just it finally just dawned on me.
It's crazy, those guys, and this Paul DeCarli sounds that way, and I'm sure you've experienced lots of people like this, Chris, but they're like Pro Tools wizards to the point where like these people probably know every single shortcut on the keyboard. Every single thing is just like instantaneous. I know in my experience, the last time we recorded with Mark McCluskey, I could watch him do that stuff, move stuff around just like lightning fast. It's impressive. It's an art.
Technology in 2005 was nowhere near where it is now. And you got to remember, in 2005, Pro Tools had only been around for, about 7 or 8 years. And this guy, Paul, I can't even imagine where he's at now. He was an absolute wizard, a master of his craft. Shortcuts, he probably knows shortcuts that the people who made Pro Tools don't know. He's just, it was incredible to watch him work.
Hey, talking about this song, you brought up a word which we've talked about in our band van before, and I never really knew it was a thing, but then once it was brought up, I always hear it in music and we always talk about it, but you said swagger. And I never knew that that's like an entire basically genre of songs that often become popular on the radio, because we had talked, in the writing of a new Punchline album, we're like, do we have any songs that like have swagger to them? And I don't know if I usually like that. I guarantee you I probably do. You brought up hip hop music. A lot of times, of course, rap music has swagger, and it works for that. A lot of times in rock, how do you describe it? It's like
it's like a cockiness, but with justified confidence.
Okay,
it's almost like I know this. I don't know. It's got this sleazy, like dirty rock and roll vibe to it. It's hard to explain, but I know what it means, if that makes sense.
No, I know what it means too. And I would think of like a lot of like White Stripes songs that have swagger and things like that, that style.
Well, and the thing about this track, there's other Buckcherry, but probably my favorite Buckcherry song is Lit Up, the first single they ever released on their first self-titled record. And I almost leaned with going with that and breaking that one down. But again, I just love a feel-good success story. And I felt that this being one of their biggest, but probably their most well-known hit. I think their song "Sorry" from the same record charted higher than "Crazy Bitch," but "Crazy Bitch" is most likely their most well-known song. I just felt this was the right one to break down today. But there's a certain, I don't know, I mentioned it to Josh. It's got like this dirty 70s Aerosmith, just rocky vibe to it, something that never quite goes out of style.
Sure. And, it was interesting, Chris, and I felt for you kind of during this, because you were bringing up specific moments and lyrics and things that were done melodically in the song, and kind of like assuming there was thought behind it, or assuming there was like a story behind why you did this line this way, or why. But it seemed kind of like this song was just a guttural, like, oh, I just got in the studio and I just did my thing and I don't know why I did it. And it was like, oh,
well,
okay.
I think that, Josh had a hand obviously in the lyrics and the singing and everything to go along with it. But certainly what I took away from that was really, I got to have a tip of the hat here to Mike Plotnikoff. So I know Mike, of course, he was the engineer on In With the Out Crowd, and Mike produced this record with Buckcherry. And, Mike's worked with everybody from My Chemical Romance, Papa Roach, All American Rejects, Hoobastank, Skillet, Seether. He got his start as an assistant to producers like Bob Rock and Mutt Lange. And he got his first big break through the recording of Aerosmith's Get a Grip record, which was back around 92, 93, when he was promoted to the head engineer for that album. And he went on to engineer and mix records for Van Halen, the Cranberries, etc. So, yeah, he worked on the Van Halen, the last record with Sammy Hagar called Balance. So Mike's the one who said, do a harmony here. put this here. That's all Mike, and Josh was just, I think just being honest, like, I just don't remember because he doesn't, because that was all Mike's doing.
That's an impressive Plotnikov resume right there. He even has a cool name, Plotnikov.
Yeah, Mike's.
I don't know, just like a cool name.
Yeah, Mike is. He's British Columbia, Canada, from BC, Vancouver area. Got his start up there, and worked under people like Bob Rock, Mutt Lang. He learned from the best. And you want to talk about, just that team over there. Him, Howard Benson, and Paul DeCarli, just unstoppable force. Just great to see, and it's really no surprise how good the record sounds because Mike just gets great tones.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And this song, it's got to be the most played song at strip clubs ever. Like that's what is known about it. It's like the number one strip club song ever.
I was gonna say maybe Girls, Girls, Girls. Motley Crue has it beaten out. I don't know. They're neck and neck. It's close. It's close.
I don't know. I think this might be the one. I think this might be the claim to fame. And what's gonna keep this song around forever is just that the clubs are pumping it to this day.
And I had mentioned to Josh too, and how many times we heard on this show, Chris, that this was just another song, and this was just another song that they had written, as attested to the fact, Chris, that it was buried number 7 on a record. You typically don't put the 7th song. Remember Savior from Rise Against? I believe that was like the 11th track.
Yeah, it was the 11th track.
On the record, because they just didn't think that it was a single. It was just kind of one of the album tracks, one of the deep cuts, as we call it. But here's Crazy Bitch buried at number 7, and he even said it. Their MySpace, their fans, they were the ones that spoke up, and then unsolicited radio stations started just playing the track, which there was. Again, a lot of stars lined up for these guys at that time. There was they had a great team working behind them, but there was some luck in the cosmos they had on their side for sure.
You can't account for what people are gonna like, and we've talked that to death on here about, like, sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes you don't realize it. Sometimes you do know. Sometimes you're like, this song's special, and sometimes but sometimes, probably more often, you don't know what's going to resonate with people.
Well, and this is not a knock on the band at all, on Buckcherry at all. But if it wasn't for Crazy Bitch, I don't know if they'd still be a band today. They had some issues before this record came out. They lost 3 band members. They didn't have a deal. All the aforementioned things we talked about. And here this song blows up, and I really think it's given them another 20 years.
I'm sure that Josh and the band realized that too, and you have to feel fortunate to have a hit. There's a lot of us out here that would love to have a hit. So I don't know. I assume that people don't take that for granted.
And speaking of hits, would you like your podcast to be a hit? Well, you can. Just talk to my man Chris at We Know Podcasting. Chris, tell him all about it.
I think Chris DeMakes a Podcast is a hit. Would you say it's a hit?
I think it's a hit, but it's our show, so I don't want to be too egotistical. But yeah, you do a hell of a job putting this together, Chris.
Thanks, man. Well, me and my good buddy Matt have a company called We Know Podcasting, which you can check out at weknowpodcasting.com, and I could tell you all about it. I think the proof is in the pudding from this podcast that you're listening to right now, but if you need a little nudge for your own existing podcast, or if you've been thinking about starting a podcast, how about if I just run this little ad and maybe that will speak volumes about what we can do for you?
Well, I don't know. Everyone has a podcast now.
Well, not really. What is true is that, according to Nielsen statistics, 55% of the U.S. population, that's over 155 million people, have listened to a podcast, and 24% of the population, that's 68 million people, listen to podcasts weekly. And these numbers continue to trend upward.
What's also true is that over 75% of all podcasts fade away after the first few episodes. It could be for a variety of reasons: lack of strong concept, poor production value, people not realizing how much time needs to be dedicated to it, or simply just not knowing how to get the word out about podcasts. That's where WeKnowPodcasting.com comes in.
At WeKnowPodcasting.com, we have a combined 25 years of podcast experience, and we can help you achieve your podcasting goals. Whether you need help starting a new podcast or want to take your currently active podcast to the next level, we got you. From consultations to concept development, from theme music to editing, promotion, animation, graphics, you name it, and we're here to help.
Don't become another failed podcast statistic. Let us guide you and help your show become a success.
Check out the website at weknowpodcasting.com, and even if you're on the fence, don't hesitate to reach out. We're friendly guys, we're passionate about pods, and we're here to help.
Well, I hope that convinced everybody to start a podcast and hit us up at weknowpodcasting.com.
They will set you straight. I can guarantee that because, I've said it before, Chris. Prior to this, I had zero knowledge of podcasts, how to put the whole thing together, and you've educated me greatly on the whole subject. So thank you.
And you've educated me on a lot of things too, man. I think you've educated you've educated our listeners on a lot of things too, man. I have people say that to me all the time, that they've learned a lot about songs and songwriting and stuff. And I know I bust your hump a lot about things, but man, you're good at what you do.
I try, Chris. And speaking about educating our listeners, I'd like to educate our listeners right now to tell you to please go to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. It helps us look good, and looking good means we can get you the artist that you want on this show.
Absolutely. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Maybe say, Chris and Chris, you do a great job. Keep doing a great job. I really liked this specific episode. It takes about 30 seconds to do that, and it helps us. It helps us a lot, for real.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. And if you haven't already, join the Chris DeMakes a Podcast Facebook group. If you're already in there, you know it's a lot of fun. Invite 10 of your friends, each of you, please. We want to grow the group. The more, the merrier. And please give me a follow at Less Than Chris D. And I want to thank this week's guest, Mr. Josh Todd from Buckcherry. We'll see you next week.
The number you have reached is 100.7 WMMS.
It wasn't just a radio station, it was a lifestyle.
Cleveland is a rock and roll city for sure.
Get down! The Wrath of the Buzzard. WMMS. Cleveland.
The rise and fall of one of the most iconic radio stations in America. Profiles, The Wrath of the Buzzard. PROH Files. Subscribe now wherever you get podcasts.
Hey there, I am Johnny Christ from Avenged Sevenfold, and I've got a podcast called Drinks with Johnny you're going to want to check out. I sit down with a bunch of different people from all different walks of life, from professional wrestlers to actors, comedians, fighters, musicians, everything in between. I'm just looking to make some friends and have a good time doing it. So if that sounds like something you're into, go check out Drinks with Johnny, streaming everywhere now.